Alternative history is the subgenre of fiction that deals in might-have-beens. Kingsley Amis imagined that the Reformation had never happened and made Protestant theologist Martin Luther a pope. John Bonville had Mary Queen of Scots execute her cousin Elizabeth. Ben Elton prevented the assassination of Franz Ferdinand. But the most popular "what if" is what if those scary Nazis had won the war? Philip K. Dick, Philip Roth, Robert Harris, Harry Turtledove, Owen Shears and plenty more have all come at the nightmare from their own angle. Female authors, it seems, are not that into what-ifery. No book, however, has brought the scenario home to roost quite like Len Deighton's SSGB. Now a 5-part drama on BBC One. In it, the Luftwaffe have won the Battle of Britain. England is occupied and Churchill is said to have flicked 2 fingers at the firing squad. Deighton's novel is nearly 40 years old, but this feels like a good time for it to pop up. At the ballot box, plucky little England has only just repelled the might of a Teutonic EU. Meanwhile, America seems to living out its own alt history for real, in which a tangerine with a comb-over implausibly storms the White House. SSGB laid out the alternative facts in the opening sequence with almost sadistic relish. An air-rolling Spitfire, one of the very last left, came in to land on the mall in front of a blockaded Buckingham Palace. The Germans were showing it off to their visiting Soviet ally, Marshal Zhukov. Nazi flags and banners were all over, hanging down the facade of Parliament and, more shockingly still, draped around the otherwise naked girlfriend of Chief Superintendent Douglas Archer when we first met him. At the heart of SSGB is the question of collaboration or resistance. Archer, Sam Riley, is a Scotland Yard detective charged with holding up law, but whose law? Britain's or the Reich's? He could just about hold his nose and have his picture taken with his police superior, SS Gruppenführer Kellerman, Rainer Bach. Kellerman has this ability to wear mufti, even if it's a suit of garish check that's hardly appropriate for the office. But after Archer went to investigate a fishy-looking murder that seemed to involve the resistance, everything changed. SS Standartenführer Dr. Hitler Seidinger, a petrifying acolyte of Himmler's, was on the next plane from Berlin to take charge of the investigation. Huth ticks all the stereotypical boxes: ascetic, pitiless, austerely clean-shaven, not keen on sightseeing. Riley, meanwhile, plays Archer as an old-fashioned gumshoe on secondment from a 40s film noir, all Hamburg and hard-boiled pauses. Whenever he does open his mouth, Riley has a booming, gravelly larynx that he often softened to a whisper. It must play merry hell with the sound department. But he commanded the center of this promising opener with manly vigor. It helps that, aside from his German superiors and James Cosmo's wheezing old police sidekick, his sparring partners are all women. Each hails from a different point on the archetypal spectrum. Barbara Barga from the New York Times, Kate Bosworth, is a vampy ice maiden in frosted pink. Archer's secretary, girlfriend Sylvia Maeve Dermody, is an impulsive wildcat who's off to join the resistance. And then back at his lodgings, looking after his son, is tragic mumsy landlady Mrs. Sheehan, Christina Cole. So there are plenty of human strands woven into a murder plot that feels satisfyingly convoluted. The adaptation is by Robert Wade and Neil Purvis, who co-wrote several James Bond scripts, including Casino Royale, Skyfall and Spectre, and seem to know their way around Archer's conflicted conscience and Dayton's clipped dialogue. "The Dorchester," said Miss Varga, "is not what it was." "Nothing is," retorted Archer. SSGB looks and sounds a lot more convincing than Close to the Enemy, the last BBC drama to visit London in the 40s. Director Philip Kattelbach has a feel for barren morgues and echoing corridors. and has meticulously filtered almost all the cheerful hues out of stately London. This is a black and white film in brown, khaki and Nazi scarlet. Nevertheless, the key question, as we watch SSGB, is how we Brits would have responded to the swastika on our doorstep. Everywhere else in Europe, the countries whose peace-conferring union we voted to abandon had to put up with all this for real. Intriguing.